My door! The hell, man!
Look, that's not important right now.
But, but, my door.
Look, forget about the stupid door right now. I need your help with something.
Fine. What is it?
Well, I'm doing this assignment in class that requires me to make connection with the book I read to the question that I have. I've already gotten most of it down. I just need to go over it with someone.
So, you want me to help you proofread or something?
Nah, just be like my audience or something. I have to present this in class, so I thought I could get some practice.
Fine. But you're buying me a new door.
Well, maybe if you didn't set your volume all the way up to maximum ear trauma, then you wouldn't have a broken door.
Whatever, just present it already.
For anyone else who is watching this that is not part of my classroom, be wary. I'm about to go over things in the book Flight that could spoil the entire experience for you. Anyway, for this assignment, my question comes down to, is culture and identity important to mental health, and how is it connected to its journey? To kind of answer that question, I would say yes. Culture and identity are both factors in having a healthy mind, and when we take a look at Zitz, we realize that he's not a very healthy kid. Well, why is that, you may ask? And what better way to answer that than look back at what happened at the first 3 chapters of the book?
Wait. You never explained how culture and identity are important to mental health, though.
Oh, don't worry. We'll come back to that. Back on topic, here's an entire list of examples that would take too much of my time if I tried to draw and explain them. You done? Cool, moving on. Now, focus your attention to this lady here. This is Jessica Goodkind. She's a professor at the Michigan State University who wrote an academic journal about young Indian Americans and their families solving root causes of violence, trauma, and substance abuse in their family history. The youth will participate in traditional cultural activities that, in turn, as quoted from the journal, experience significant increases in cultural identity, self-esteem, positive coping strategies, quality of life, and social adjustment. Qualitative data supported these findings and suggested additional positive effects. With this, there are 4 examples on how they achieve such positive effects. Each of these examples, I believe, can be connected to Zitz's journey and shed some light on how he became mentally healthier. Example number 1. Recognizing/healing historical trauma. In chapter 19, we learn of how after Zitz's mother dies, he was taken in by his Aunt Zooey and from there on has suffered from abuse from her and her boyfriend. Aunt Zooey's boyfriend would molest Zitz at night, and whenever Zitz would tell Zooey, she'd just slap and yell at him, not only for that, but for crying at nights too. Zitz then goes over all the bad shit he's done for most of his life, then says from the book, "But I'm tired of hurting people. I'm tired of being hurt. I need help." Which is a pretty clear sign that Zitz has looked into his past and realized that because of this, he needs to change. Example number 2. Reconnecting to traditional culture. It's obvious that from the beginning that Zitz isn't dumb in the fact that he has knowledge of the history of Indians. In a way, you could make the connection that that is how he reconnects with traditional culture. Because as quoted by Zitz himself, "I know all this stuff because it makes me feel more like a real Indian. Maybe I can't live like an Indian, but I can learn how a real Indian used to live and how they're supposed to live now." Example number 3. Parenting/social skill building. Oh boy, what better examples to give than those of chapters 17 and 18? Especially when it's about how not to do something. First being how at the end of the man's story about the parrot with the clipped wings, and how inconsiderate he seemed to both his wife and daughter for laughing at such a tragic moment. And then there's a flashback with Zitz's father, and how we find out that it seems that he's never dealt with the problem of his abuse as a child, and because of that, believes that he can never be a father. Example number 4. Strengthening family relationships through equine assisted activities. At first, I was going to try to make a connection on how the plane in chapter 13 was like the equine and the whole strengthening family relationship was his journey, which is like, yeah, that's not bad. But then I remembered that chapter 11 and 12 were a thing. And how Zitz is on a horse saving Small Saint and Boboy while participating in an activity of running and dodging gunfire. And I mean, come on, saving anybody in a situation like that kind of builds a relationship, and you can imagine a different scenario where Zitz survived and escaped with them. They would have probably had some bonding experiences. Alas, Zitz just ends up biting the Gus. Trying to understand psychology can be well, tricky at times. But if you really try and start seeing the connections, it can become second nature. A habit to notice these things in each person and even animals. Coming back to the question of is culture and identity important to one's health, we need to first understand what culture and identity are. While there can be a variety of definitions, in my opinion, I believe these ones from the dictionary fit the topic the most. Culture is the behavior and beliefs characteristic of a particular social... Here, I'll just define it like this. A culture is a group that acts a certain way that seems normal in that group. And an identity is something about a person or thing that stands out and defines them, whether physically, mentally, or both. These are things that, no matter where you live, are always going to be factors to you and everyone else. So, are these important to mental health? Yes, they are extremely important. And if you're still having a difficult time as to why, then let's put it like this. Your brain is an organ, just like any other, and it's constantly changing itself. Based on what your culture was and is like, plays into how you think and believe things as a whole, which in turn can make an identity for you. But when you go out of your culture and explore what others are like, whether you think about these things or not, can change your brain to think very differently. For example, back in my high school years, I was a fat, socially awkward nerd who just minded his own business, got D's and F's, and never really had much motivation to do anything else other than video games. I then dropped out of high school and went to Job Corps to get my diploma and something on my resume. I promised my mother that I would graduate from this, and after 8 months of being in a different culture of struggles and hard work, I had also discovered a sense of motivation. The motivation to get the hell out of there. And that's what I did. And after a year, I made the decision to go to college. And the same applies to all you guys too. You have all been going, are going, and will be going through the challenges of being in different cultures, and with how you tackle each situation is what will ultimately make you stand out, as it did with Michael and how he became mentally healthier from his journey.